Hi guys, welcome to this short online tutorial for identifying the web elements on Selenium, right? So basically the whole intention here is to make you aware how do we basically locate the web elements so that we can use it for Selenium automation, okay? So this is Patil here. I'm trying my level best to give you within 10 minutes how do we identify the XPaths required for Selenium automation. All right. So I have a sample application over here that is activetime.com. It can be anything for that matter. So I'm using Firefox as a browser over here. So the first thing that you should be doing is you should be installing Firebug, which is a plugin for Firefox. And once you install Firebug, then you have to add a Firepath, which is again a plugin. This time it is for Firebug. So it is like this: Firefox will have Firebug, and Firebug would internally have Firepath. So these are all open source. You can download and add them to your Firefox just like that. Now, so what is this basically the XPath is? Okay, and what is that this XPath is going to help us, right? So if you see here, now, as a manual tester, what you would do is you would maybe, in case if you want to log in, you would enter username and password over here and then click on the submit button or the login button. But in case if you're trying to do it using automation, so you have to tell the Selenium tool that boss, this is where you have to enter the username and this is where you have to enter the password. So how the tool remembers that this is where it will have to enter the username is by locating that element. Now, how the tool locates that element is that is where your XPath comes into picture. So XPath is just an expression which is used to locate a particular element in the web page. Okay. So how do we write this XPath? Let me start with the basics. Okay. So now what I'll do here, there are two ways. One is by relative by absolute XPath, which is when I say relate absolute XPath, when I spy it on this, you can see over here the entire HTML code, right? So what I can do is I can start it from the root over here. The root is, see, Firepath by default gives you some XPath. Okay, so don't rely on whatever Firepath gives you. Okay, so if you see here, Firepath has given you some kind of XPath over here. So this is correct, but I would say don't depend on whatever Firepath is giving to you. So what you should be doing is, as an automation engineer, you should be writing your own XPath expressions. Now, how do you do that? For that, there are two ways. One is, I put up one forward slash here and then say HTML, enter. So that means, see, if you see here, it is taking me to the HTML tag over here. And then below the HTML, I have a body. So I have a body tag over here. It has taken me to the body. And inside this body, there's a table. So let us say if I say table, and it will basically, so it will basically take me to the table. Yeah. So this is what is called as absolute XPath, wherein you start from the HTML and then try to navigate downwards towards the actual element that you want. Okay. So, and down the line you'll go further and then maybe you will reach to this username field. This is what is called as absolute XPath, which is kind of starting from the root and coming down. So this is very fragile, meaning it is very lengthy and there are high chances that during the runtime it might fail. It might not identify if you're using the absolute way of locating the XPath. So for that, what you have to do is, instead of one forward slash, I'll put two forward slash that tells that anywhere in the document, there is a tag called as input. Now see here, there are 12 input tags. There are 12 input tags. It is showing over here there are 12 input tags. Anywhere in the document, there is an input tag. Now just see here. What you have to do here, anywhere in the document there's input tag, and then you have to make use of the attributes over here. So ID is an attribute, name is an attribute, class is an attribute for this element. So this input tag has all these attributes. Value is also an attribute, but it's not having any kind of value for this attribute. So what you have to do here is just say input, which is basically the tag name, square bracket, at the rate, any of the attributes. Ideally, we will choose ID. ID is always unique in the entire HTML page. So the preference should be given to the ID. If not ID, then go to the name. If not name, then go to the class. If class is also not there, then you have to go to its parent and come down. I will be showing you that as well. So now if you write like this and then say enter, you see here one matching node found. That means we are able to locate this username field by using this. Alright, so this is the way we identify, this is what is the XPath expression. Now this can be used in your Selenium automation code to locate this. Okay, so this is one way. The other way is, imagine if the ID was not there, then maybe the name is there, then what you have to do? Instead of ID over here, what you'll have to do is say name. The name is, say this name. Name is also same in this case, and this is also still fine. Yeah, and imagine if the name is not there. Okay, ID is also not there and the class is also not there. Okay, by the way, if one attribute is not sufficient to uniquely identify the element, ensure that your goal is to uniquely identify the element, right? So now one matching node found. In case if it's not possible, then you can add more and more attributes like this, maybe something like this. Okay, so if one attribute is not sufficient, you can keep on adding the attribute and the value combination in the square bracket like this till the time you uniquely identify the object. But for now, we are able to uniquely identify it, so we are fine with this. So imagine if it's not possible to uniquely identify it. Then what you have to do here is you have to just, now imagine in this case, username is, I mean, ID is not there, name is not there. Then what you have to do is you have to immediately look to its parent, which has at least name or ID, right? Now see, the parent of this input tag is the TD. TD is basically the table data, and then you have a TR, and then you have a T-body, and then there's a table above that. So then this table has a class called as text fields table. So now imagine if the the username field is not having any of the ID, class, or name. Then what I'll have to do is I'll have to go to its immediate parent, which has a name or ID or a class. I would say class is equal to this one. Now see, we are able to reach over here. Yeah. And then if you see over here, basically it is saying that 3 matching nodes found. Okay. That means we are still not able to uniquely identify that. Yeah. But still we will kind of proceed further now. Inside this table, there's a T body. Inside this T body, there's a TR. And if you see here, there are TR1 and TR2. So what I'll do is we will use this square bracket indicator telling that you go to the first TR. So now I'm into the first TR now. And then in the first TR, there is one TD, right? And this TD has one input, right? So we have again kind of 4 matching nodes here. This is where again the attributes will come into picture. Just for our understanding, if the ID would have been there, we would have straight away used the ID. But imagine there are no unique attributes over here. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to navigate from its parent like this. So anywhere in the document I have a table. This is the class for that. And then go to the T body, go to the first row, go to the first column. If there's only one TD, that means there's just one TD, so that you need not have to write one specifically over here. And then you're going to that particular you know, HTML element like this. So this is how we use XPath to come from a parent and navigate to a particular child. So one way is if you know ID, class, name, directly use that. Other way is if it's nothing is there, then you may have to go to the immediate parent. Keep looking upwards and see if there's any parent which has a ID, class, or name. Then from there you need to come down. Okay. If nothing is there, then there's no option. You have to come all the way from the HTML root. That means you have to go for the absolute path. All right. So now going further, I hope this is clear to all of you. Now going further, we have say this is what is my username field now. I would say username. I'm able to look at this. That's fine. So now imagine there's a link here. The link is say forgot password. Now, how do you identify the links? So any HTML element which has a text, how do you do that? Is now if you see it, this also has an ID. Imagine the ID is not there. Okay. So now if you see here, this is what is a text. Okay. So you can go by, you can locate a HTML element using the text as well. So what are the HTML elements which will have the text? Usually your links, your divs, your spans, these are the HTML elements which will have the text. All right. So now how do I identify any element which is using the text is see the name of the tag as usual, and then instead of writing at the rate here, because we are not using any attribute, we are using the text here. So text is a function. Text is equal to, maybe I'll write the text over here, whatever I've captured, something like this. Right. So this is how we identify any HTML element using its text. Okay. So note the syntax here. A text is equal to forget your password, whatever is the text. So this is how you can use it for anywhere, wherever you want to go by the text. Maybe your table data, maybe a div, maybe a span or whatever. But sometimes it happens that you know basically the text sometimes keeps on changing, right? Maybe it's not always forget password, forget your password. Maybe you may imagine that it's showing your username, something like that. So when the text keeps on changing, what you have to do here is you have to use another way here. So when the text is changing, see, you have to use a method here called as contains. Contains and a parenthesis over here, just remember, contains text, comma, a portion of the text which is kind of not changing. See, even though the text is changing, but not the entire text would be dynamic. A portion of it would be constant. So you have to choose the portion which is kind of constant and leave the dynamic part. Something like this. Contains text, contains text, this one. Yeah, contains a text, whatever is the text which is kind of constant. And we leave the dynamic part like this. Okay, so this is how we identify the elements which are dynamically changing by using the text. Hope this is clear to you. And the third approach is sometimes it happens that the ID or the class or the name, even they also keep on changing. They are also kind of dynamic. They are not constant. In that case, how do? You say A, just here the same way, contains. Now in this case, it is attribute, right? That's why I'm using at the rate here. So wherever there's an attribute, imagine you have to use at the rate. So over here, I'm giving the kind of uh, a value of that ID which is constant, and it is not kind of changing dynamically. So something like this: A contains at the rate ID to password. Yeah. So a portion of the ID which is not changing is what I'm using inside the contains method. So contains is a method which takes two parameters. How do you want to identify? Either by a text or attribute. If it is text, just write text, and that say uh, the value of the text which is constant, and then if it is using any attributes, at the rate is what you have to do. All right. So hope this short tutorial will help you to locate your HTML elements properly. Yeah. Thanks for watching, and I would really want you to uh, watch more videos coming down the line. Thanks a lot.